right. We got a big job to do on the ML55 today, guys. Which is pretty much going to be the radiator. We're going to be switching out the radiator because it's got a slow leak on it. This will be my first time tackling this. I've done this before in the CLK. It wasn't too bad, but this one just seems like it has more parts to remove, pretty much. Just from looking at the engine bay, you've got this thing here for the fan. You got to unplug that and unscrew that. A couple of hoses here. It's very tight in this engine bay, but pretty much what I'm going to be doing here is taking out the fan, the radiator, and also going to be tackling quite a few things on this engine itself. There are a few things on this engine that actually leaks, and it's a common problem. Pretty much the oil cooler leaks, the oil filter housing leaks as well. Power steering leaks as well, but I've already replaced the gasket, but I'm going to replace the gasket on the oil cooler, the oil housing gasket, and there's one more item which is down there. I'll show you guys later in the video. That I believe is called the oil pressure gauge, and it also leaks oil, so I've got the gasket for that. I'm going to replace it, as well as replacing the belt itself. I mean, the belt, I would like to replace it. I see a little bit of some cracks in there, which, you know, at least I'll get that headache off my hands. So I'll be replacing that. These are the parts I have, actually. And let me show you guys here real quick. So this is an AC Delco belt. I also have a cabin air filter here we're going to replace. And these are the gaskets right here. I went with a Bosch air filter right here. So we're going to be replacing that as well. So these are the gaskets. The bigger one is for the oil housing filter. This is pretty much a full kit. As we take these parts off, obviously we're gonna match them with the gaskets I have over there and go from there. All right, guys, first things first, you wanna unplug your battery from the black wire right there, just because, you know, wires are actually hooked onto the fan. So to take off the headlight, this is gonna be a 10 millimeter right here. And these 4 bolts right here are gonna be a 13 millimeter to take off the brace. Also going to be doing the same thing as well over here. So same process as what I'll be doing here. I didn't mention, guys, but this trim right here, you're gonna actually have to take that off to get the headlight off, to get that 4th socket right there holding on to the brace. So same sockets, it's gonna be 10 and a 10 right here. Once you've taken the screws off, this is what it's going to look like. The latch, I didn't want to mess with it, so you can actually move it to the side right here. That's what I have going on at the moment, so I don't have to mess with the hood or anything like that. I've already gone ahead and also taken off these screws. I lied. There's one that's a 10 millimeter and a 14 millimeter, and I did say a 13 millimeter here. It is a 14 millimeter as well. So just, you guys keep that in mind. Let's move on to getting the fan off. To take off the fan, there's going to be a 10 millimeter right here socket. You're going to take that off. It's right underneath the bottom hose, and same on the other side as well. There are a few clips over here. You just have to finagle them and then get the fan out. Those are the clips right there. Check it out. These are the clips holding on to the fan, to the radiator. And these are the little clips I was talking about. So just make sure you get those out, and the fan should come out. right, so fan is out. You're gonna need a 19mm right here to take this brace off. I'm not sure which, I think this is the transmission cooler line. And there's another down here. You're gonna need a 5/8. And I'm gonna be using this guy right here, 5/8. For the bottom hose, you're gonna need a screwdriver to remove that hose clamp, as well as this hose clamp right here that goes to the radiator, this gigantic hose clamp that goes to the radiator, and there's one more down there right there. You're gonna need a screwdriver, and that will be all the hoses you will need to take off of the radiator. All right, next step to get the radiator out, you're gonna need a 10mm socket right here, right there. For the AC compressor, or not compressor, condenser, you're gonna need an E5 for this bolt right here. An E6 will work also, but an E5 would be best. There's one right here, and there's one on the back as well you have to take off. And for the radiator, you're gonna have to yank on it really hard to get it out, because there's a rubber grommet on the bottom where the radiator is sitting on. And after you get that out, the radiator should come out. So I'm pretty sure this is the original radiator, because I don't think this has ever been replaced. The way it was all set up on here, it was actually attached to the condenser, and there are these pieces right here I had to really break off. Basically, I had to destroy the radiator to detach it from the condenser piece sitting right here. But if you guys have been changed already, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. But you see this right here? This is what the hole was initially. This is what the hole looked like with these pieces in it. So for this guy right here, you're gonna need an E12 to get this piece off. All right, so guys, I already took the belt off to get to this screw right here. If you want to take it off, there's a tensioner right here. It is a 17mm. Pretty much what you're gonna do is do that, and the belt should come loose. All right, so for this part, oil is definitely gonna be coming out here, so I just need to replace it here real quick and put in the new piece. All right, here we go. Oh, not a lot came out, actually. Just some oil. You're gonna lose some oil, barely any oil. Once you have this out, this is pretty bad. I'm gonna match it up with my part right here. Looks like, so this was in that way. Yep. Put in the new part. Oh yeah, that feels a lot better. Oil cooler, T30, one right here, and one on top right there. There's one more bolt actually, all the way back here. That's the final bolt to take out. It's kind of hiding back there, but you see it. All right, finally I was able to get my oil cooler off. It's a little harder with this guy right here, but I was able to finagle my way through the last screw, which is back here. So we're gonna replace this gasket right here, and then that gasket down there. Guys, take a look at this. This is all hard and brittle. It was actually a little bit harder to take off. And look at the new one, so squishy. All right, so check it out. I didn't have the tool to actually get the oil filter housing out to replace the gasket. I'm gonna order in the tool and do it later. Hopefully, you know, I don't make a big mess, but I don't think it should, as long as I have something to, you know, protect the oil from dripping down. I've already gone ahead and cleaned out everything in here. I used brake cleaner and engine degreaser, and look at that, it looks a lot better. I mean, obviously we're not going to get a whole lot of oil off of the engine itself, or dirt as well, but this looks pretty good. And so I'll go ahead and clean everything off, put the belt back on. All right guys, I've pretty much taken everything that was on this radiator onto the new radiator. Pretty much all you would need is these flappers over here and on the other side as well. And it goes in the reverse order. I'll probably put you guys on a time lapse. Everything is all buttoned up now. The only difficult thing was getting those little screws to hold the little AC unit down there. That was the only tedious thing really. But other than that, we've got our blue stuff here. We're gonna pour into the reservoir. Pretty much this is concentrated, so I've got distilled water right here. So we're gonna do 50-50, pour it in the reservoir, start up the car, let it get to 80 degrees, and it's gonna start burping itself. The really cool thing about Mercedes is it's got its own like self-burping. So just let it run up to 80 degrees and it's gonna bubble up, get all the air out of the system, and pour more in there. And the last thing you wanna do is after you pour more in there and it's not burping itself, go out for a drive, come back, you're gonna see the coolant will reduce and add more coolant, and you're all good to go. guess we just wait till it reaches up to temp. Alright guys, it's the next day. Couple of things to finish out this video. So I drove the car yesterday, and it actually took another gallon of distilled water, and I didn't think it would take that much coolant, but make sure you know, once you drive it and you get back, it's gonna tell you need more coolant, so you're just gonna have to mix the coolant again and then pour it in the reservoir. Just have the car running, open up the reservoir. It's still gonna bleed itself out. Just get that air out of the system. Finally, mine stopped. The air came out of the system, so that was a plus. The other thing that I didn't mention, actually, which I didn't know, but to keep in mind, make sure you have at least 24 quarts or 12 quarts of power steering, because you're going to lose power steering fluid, especially once you disconnect that hose. And there's also power steering in the radiator itself, so you're going to lose that as well. So I lost mine. I could barely turn the steering wheel, so I had to pour power steering fluid in there. Make sure you keep it open so it burps itself also, because mine was burping itself because there was air in the system. All you have to do is just turn the steering wheel back and forth, left, right, all the way, and it will just keep bleeding, burping itself until you have enough power steering fluid in there. I think that's pretty much it, those two things. So just keep those two things in mind. In terms of getting the job done, not bad at all. If you follow this video, obviously you're gonna get it done. There are other videos on YouTube as well that show you how to do it. But one thing that was very, very challenging for me was the little AC condenser. It's not attached to the radiator, but the radiator has a little pocket that sits in it. For me, it was very hard to get those two screws back in there just to tighten it. I couldn't get it tightened all the way, but at least I got the two screws in there and had it turn just a little bit. So it's sitting there fine. It should be fine. It's a very hard spot to you know, get your fingers or your tools in there to tighten up the screws that hold it up. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.